Before you buy a laptop, watch this. Thinking about buying a laptop? This video just might be the thing you need before you make the purchase decision, so make sure to stick around. Let's suppose that you go to a retailer or an online marketplace to get a laptop. You look at a laptop in your budget and the long specs look fine to you. After all, long numbers correlate with good performance, right? So, without thinking much, you pay the amount and get the laptop. Feeling happy, you go back and try it for the first time. But upon using it for just about 10 minutes, you are disappointed. Why? Because it doesn't deliver the performance you expected. The processing speed is quite slow, and you can't seem to get your work done. Just what went wrong? Well, you didn't think much about the specs for starters. Second, you didn't look for other options in your budget, mainly because you didn't know about laptop specs in the first place. By the end of this video, you will have learned to always get the best laptop around. Laptop versus desktop. Before anything else, think about if you even need a laptop or not. Ask yourself if a desktop meets your needs. After all, a desktop computer is cheaper, and you can get better specs than a laptop in the same price category. Not to mention, the number of customizations possible to a desktop is limitless. This is mainly due to the complex architecture of PCBs and laptops. If you don't travel much and don't need to move your PC around, a desktop computer might be the right thing for you. But if you need a lightweight device that you can carry to do your work, it's better to go for a laptop. Your needs. The type of laptop that you should look for basically boils down to your needs. If you are looking for a laptop for high-end gaming, it will be different from a laptop for work and studying. So based on your general needs, we can make 3 different categories of laptops: high-end gaming, designing and rendering, and work and study laptops. In the high-end gaming category, you need a laptop with the best GPU around. Even if the processor is not that high-end, you can still get the gaming performance you need. But remember, you will have to sacrifice battery life to some extent. And in the designing and rendering category, you need a high-performance processor and a good GPU. Going back in time, there wasn't that much of a need for a high-performance GPU for designing and rendering, but many new software, like Photoshop and Adobe After Effects, work better on the GPU cores. In this case as well, you will have to overlook battery timing a little. It is mainly because processors and GPUs perform better when their power intake is high, which means they will draw more from the battery to give more performance. For your work and study, your priority is good battery life, and not a high-end processor or GPU. It means that laptops with mediocre processors can also work well for you. After all, you will run basic applications like MS Word and Zoom, and not 3D programs. For each category, we will discuss the right processor and graphics card because they are integrated into the laptop. Other specs like RAM and disk space are customizable, which means you can increase them as you want. But the same doesn't go for processor and GPU, and that's why you need to look at these components whenever you are buying a laptop. Processor. Now, let's talk about processors. The most popular brands for processors are Intel and AMD. Intel processors go by Intel i3, 5, 7, and 9. Meanwhile, AMD processors go by Ryzen 3, 5, 7, and 9. In both cases, the number indicates the number of cores in the processor. The more the cores, the better the performance. Basically, more cores allow you to multitask and handle taxing programs better without heating up. On a laptop, you can see the long alphanumerical name of the processor, like i9-11800H. Let me tell you the trick behind it. The first 2 numbers are basically the generation of the processor. In this case, it is an 11th generation processor. Is it better than previous generations? Not necessarily, but newer processors mean newer technology, which automatically improves its efficiency. So look out for newer generation processors. Next, the last alphabet represents the category of the processor. You would see processors with alphabets like U, Y, G7, G1, and H. U means a moderate processor that consumes less energy and produces less power. The Y category consumes even less, whereas G7 and G1 are good processors with a decent performance. The H category processors are the top of the line in terms of performance. Now that you know the difference between processors, find the best one that suits your needs. You can search laptop reviewers on Google and search processor Geekbench scores. Click on the Geekbench website. You can see the top performing processor on the top. From the list, you can pick a top processor like Intel Core i9-13900X or Core i3-1235U, which is the best for studying and business. A laptop containing Core i3-1235U, like HP Pavilion X360, may be the best for doing business-related tasks and studying. GPU. Talking about GPUs, there are two major manufacturers, NVIDIA and AMD. You will find NVIDIA's graphics cards and GPUs like RTX 3060 and RTX 3090, and AMD's graphics cards like RX 7000 and RX 6000. Just remember, the higher the number, the better the graphics card. For instance, the RTX 3090 is better than the RTX 3080. Most people prefer NVIDIA's graphics cards because they have cores called CUDA. They are high-performing in rendering. Now to check which graphics card is more performant, just search on Google Graphics Card Benchmark and click on User Benchmark. You will see the ratings and benchmarks of each graphics card. You can see that RTX 4070 has a higher score but is more expensive than RTX 4060. Once you have found the right graphics card, just search for a laptop with this card on Amazon or any other platform. On Amazon, you can see a laptop called Asus ROG Strix G16 with RTX 4070 and a high-performance processor. So for the high-end gaming category, the Asus ROG Strix G16 is the best option. As I said, rendering and designing require a high-performing graphics card. Then shouldn't our Asus ROG Strix G16 work fine for that as well? Honestly, it can work fine, but it lacks the high-end processor required for seamless designing. So searching for a laptop on Amazon with an Intel Core i9-13900X with a graphics card like RTX 4060 or even 4070 will reveal our laptop for designing. Asus VivoBook Pro comes with our desired processor and an RTX 4060 graphics card. One thing to remember here is to look for graphics cards that have a higher wattage, because it is directly proportional to the performance you will get. And on a side note, if you are willing to pay a premium price, you can also go for a MacBook Pro with an M2 or M3 chip. It is good for rendering and designing, but does not have a good gaming performance. RAM and disk space. Basically, RAM gives your laptop the space to multitask. With more RAM, there will be more room for multitasking. The minimum RAM you should be looking for is 16 gigabytes. You can increase the RAM as you prefer, and the same goes for the disk space. There are two types of drives you can find: SSD and HDD. SSD, or solid-state drive, is far faster than a hard disk drive. So be sure to personalize your laptop with a minimum of over 500 gigabyte SSD. It will give you enough space to run your games, render, and study. Screen. In laptops, there are two types of common screens: IPS and AMOLED screens. IPS screens are easy on the eyes and affordable. However, the colors look dull, whereas AMOLED screens are known for their rich colors and vibrancy. But these screens are not only costly, but also fragile. So if you value graphics, you should go for an AMOLED screen. It will matter the most for designers and gamers, but if you just want to get your work done, going for an IPS screen won't hurt you. Now you'll be able to find the right laptop that truly suits your needs and doesn't disappoint you upon its arrival. While these are the specs you should check and look for, the laptop you will buy ultimately depends on your budget. But even with limited money, finding the right processor and graphics card within your budget won't be difficult now. I hope you liked the video. Please like, share, and follow the Tech DFS channel, and check out the affiliate links for some of my recommended laptops. Stay tuned for more informative and interesting videos. See you in the next video.